Stories of the Bible. Daniel in the Lion's Den. This is Daniel.
Oh, hey!
Who was a Jewish man who was taken to Babylon when he was very young.
Yeah.
Daniel loved God and followed God's rules. He talked to God 3 times a day and asked God for help often. Daniel served in the Babylonian king's court for many years
Yeah, I know him.
and under many kings.
Hey, Daniel.
Daniel always proved himself to be more capable than all the other court officials.
Thanks. Well, anytime.
Daniel was serving under King Darius, and because of his great abilities, the king made plans to place him in charge of the entire empire.
Wow, okay.
The other court officials searched for some fault in Daniel, but they couldn't find anything wrong with him. He was faithful, responsible, and completely trustworthy.
Wait.
The court officials realized the only way to get at Daniel would be to challenge his faith.
Come on.
So they went to King Darius
Excuse me, Your Majesty.
and advised him to make a law that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone except King Darius will be thrown into the lion's den.
I like it.
King Darius signed this law, and once a Babylonian king signed a law, it could not be overruled. When Daniel learned of this law, he went home and knelt down, as he always did, to pray in his room with the windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he always had done, giving thanks to God and asking for his help. The officials went to Daniel's house and found him praying.
Gotcha.
They went to the king and reminded him of the law.
I remember.
Well,
Then they said that Daniel had been found praying to God 3 times a day.
What?
When the king heard this, he was very upset,
Get over here.
and he spent the whole day trying to think of a way to save Daniel.
wait, what?
By that evening, the court officials came back to the king and reminded him that no law signed by the Babylonian king could be overruled. So at last, the king gave orders for Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. The king said to him, "May your God, who you serve faithfully, rescue you." Then the lion's den was sealed shut with Daniel inside. The king spent the night fasting and couldn't sleep. Then very early in the morning, the king hurried to the lion's den. He called out,
Hey, Daniel.
"Was your God able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answered, "Long live the king! My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight." The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be taken out of the lion's den. Then the king ordered the men who had schemed against Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den as punishment. Daniel was safe. There was not a scratch on him, for he trusted in God.
If God's called you to do something, then I am positive that it's a good idea to do it. Hey guys, it's me again, Douglas, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about confidence. Yeah, confidence. Confidence is really just being sure of something. If somebody is confident, they are sure. They're sure of something. And we can be confident in God. Yeah, we can be confident that what God has called us to do is the right thing to do. But sometimes I kind of lose my confidence because, well, Satan really wants us to lose our confidence. Satan does not want us to be confident in what God has called us to do. Satan wants us to be unsure of ourselves and to be unsure of God. Satan doesn't even want us to be confident that God exists. So the other day I was at school, we were in the cafeteria, and I saw this kid. He was kind of new. He had only been there for like a week, and he didn't really have any friends yet. And I noticed that he didn't have his lunch. And so I thought, maybe he forgot it, or maybe, he lost his money or something like that. And so I was sure, that God wanted me to go over there and to share some of my lunch with him. And, there's all kinds of times in the Bible where God has told us to take care of the needy and to take care of other people and to put other people's needs before our own. And then there's all kinds of stuff in the Bible that made me think, yes, I should go help this kid. I was confident that that's what God wanted me to do. And I also got that little nudge. Sometimes you can get that little nudge from God kind of in your heart. You kind of feel it. You're like, you just know God wants you to go do this thing. And so that's what I did. I went over to him and I took half my lunch and I put it on one of the little plates I had, and I took it over to him and I said, hey, would you like part of my lunch? And what I expected him to do was be like, oh, wow, thank you so much. But instead what he said was, I don't need your help, dummy. Get out of here. And his response scared me so much, I literally fell down. And so I just kind of scrambled away and got out of there before he kept yelling at me more. Aside from just being surprised by his response, that really kind of messed me up inside, because I was sure that God wanted me to do that. I was confident. But that conversation, that encounter, made me really unsure of myself and unsure of what I knew God wanted me to do. And so from then on, for a couple of weeks, if I ever saw somebody that, I thought maybe God wanted me to go help them, I wouldn't do it. I thought, well, maybe this is not a good idea. Maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe God only wants us to help people that ask for it. Or, maybe God only wants us to help people that we know. Or, maybe something, I don't know. This thing that I thought where I knew God wants us to help people, I thought, this is not really what God wants us to do, because I got in a fight almost. That kid, he yelled at me. But about a week later, that kid came to me at school. He came up to me and he said, hey, I'm really sorry that I yelled at you at lunch the other day. I was having a really bad day. Would you like to be my friend? And I was like, yeah, I would love to be your friend. And it was awesome. In the end, it was a good idea to go talk to that kid. I found out his name was Jacob, by the way. And Jacob was going through, he was going through a really hard time, but me going over and talking to him was a really good thing for him. Even though I got yelled at and I thought it was a really bad idea. If God calls you to do something, it is a good idea to do it. Even if it seems like a bad idea at the time. The Bible is full of all kinds of things where God asks somebody to do something and they're like, yeah, no, this is a bad idea. But sometimes in the Bible, he even asks people for really simple things. Actually, one of my favorite examples in the Bible of people needing to put their trust in God is in the New Testament. See, Jesus was with his disciples, and he had just done some preaching. And then after he was done preaching, he said to his disciples, he said, let's go to the other side. They were talking about this big old body of water. Let's go to the other side of this body of water. And so they got in a boat, and they left. Very simple thing he told his disciples, let's go to the other side. He wasn't telling his disciples to part the Red Sea, and he wasn't telling his disciples to go fight a giant. He just said, let's go cross the other side. So they get in the boat, and they start crossing over, and Jesus goes, and he takes a nap. Well, the winds and the waves, they really picked up, and there was a big storm, and there was waves coming up over the boat, and everybody was sure they were going to die, and they went over to Jesus, and they said, Jesus, don't you care that we're going to drown? And so Jesus got up, and he looked out at the waves, and he said, quiet, be still. And they did. The waves just calmed right down. The sea got really, really calm. And Jesus just looked at his disciples and he said, why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? Faith and confidence are very similar. They both have to do with putting your trust in something. If you have faith in God, then you trust in God. If you have confidence in God, then you're trusting in God. And here's the thing. Sometimes it can be hard to put our confidence in God. But one way that I found that really helps me to put my confidence in God, to put my trust in God, my hope and faith in God, is to remember that he's always been there for me. The Bible is absolutely full of times where God was there for his people. God stepped in and helped out. God made sure that his plan was fulfilled. And aside from in the Bible, I've got a lot of examples in my own life where I know that God has been there for me. And I'm adding this example from when I went and talked to Jacob, and he got mad at me and I got afraid, but in the end, God's plan worked out. I could be confident in God, and I can be confident in God from here on out, because anytime I think to myself, well, I'm sure God wants me to do this, but maybe it's a bad idea because maybe I'm afraid, or maybe things are getting difficult, or things are getting hard, I can remember all the times that God has been there for me. And I'm sure there are lots of times that God has been there for you. So my challenge to you guys today is that you would really sit down and think about all the times that God has been there for you, so that next time when something comes up and you start to get unsure of yourself and unsure of what God has said, that you would be able to put your confidence in him, and that you and I would confidently live the life that God has called us to.